Another Duly Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, welcome in. Appreciate everybody for clicking on the podcast. Pat Dooley, of course, with Another Duly Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI, brought to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And we appreciate all of our sponsors and all the people that keep coming on this show and making it so great. Coach Spurrier will be in here a little bit later, and we'll, again, Peter Burns on Friday, and then we'll kind of give you a little, we're going to try to book ahead a little bit so we can kind of let you know when some of the great guests, not that all of them are great, as you know, they're all great guests. So here's where we are. We're sitting here, and I was trying to think about this today. When's the last time Florida had two brand new coaches? And I went back, and I went, well, no. And I think it might have been Don DeVoe and Steve Spurrier. I'm going to ask him when he comes in what it is. I think that was the last time. And, of course, Don DeVoe was just an interim coach when Norm left. But Norm, I don't know. I have to find out. I got to get the stats on that. It's hard to look them up when you're driving in to a situation. But obviously, two new coaches. We talked about it. Friday was a weird day because as we're walking over here to do the podcast, we find out that Todd Golden has been named the coach, who I keep wanting to call Todd Holland. I don't know who Todd Holland was. I think he was a baseball player of no consequence to me. Never played for the Braves. For some reason, that name keeps sticking to my mind. Like Mike, I keep going Todd Holland and Mike Napier. Who is Mike Napier? I Googled him. I couldn't find anybody named Mike Napier. I don't know why those. I'm going to get there. I'm going to get it right. Where Billy Napier and Todd Golden will be just flowing off of my mouth. Okay, but it does feel like they've kind of put all their chips in the middle. They've said, hey, look, this is the direction we're going. Come on with us. Enjoy it. We think this is going to work. If it doesn't, we're probably all done. we're all looking for new jobs. Because, look, Florida has decided they're going to go young and analytic and detail-oriented. And again, I'm not saying this is going away from, the Vince Lombardi or, Paul Bear Bryant where he's smoking on the sideline. I'm just saying that they've gone younger, and the basketball hire, I wish I could tell you more about him. I'm looking forward to Wednesday. We have a little presser with him on Wednesday, and it'll be fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing him and seeing what he has to say. We will, of course, meet with him on Wednesday, and we're finding out a little bit about the Florida football program, just little bits of tid that keep coming out. Nothing explosive, but obviously it feels like things are going in the right direction, blah, blah, blah. Maybe one day we'll go out there and see them get to practice, but unfortunately it conflicts with radio for me. I'm hoping to get out there, and, of course, we all are looking forward to the spring game. Also, I did need to talk about the end of both basketball seasons. The men's basketball season obviously ended with a loss to Xavier on the road. Tough place to win, especially when you can't make a shot. There's never a good place to win when you can't shoot. I've noticed that. This team, there was a point, and I think I reached it before maybe the optimistic people did, where I went, oh, this team is what it is. This is all they're going to have games where they're going to win, and they're going to shoot a lot of threes and make a bunch of threes, and it's probably going to be against a team that's not very good and they don't defend really well. And then they're going to have games where they are terrible, just terrible shooting the ball. They were where they were all year. At least they got to 20 wins. Obviously, it's the program is not broken, but it is it's going to need some patching up because we don't know what it's going to look like. But at the end of their season, I did not get to watch the last game. I was at a memorial for Karen's dad, Bob Meisenheimer. It was very lovely, well done over in Melbourne. And We all miss him. But it was, so I didn't get to see it, but I looked at it, and I looked at the box, and I just went, is this the LSU game? Or is this the Kentucky game? It's the Xavier game. Could have been any game. Bunch of turnovers, bunch of missed shots. They were what they were, and it was hard to watch. And I've talked about, but that's the thing. So they make a hire and I got to look down. I had to look down to see his name because I didn't want to say Todd Holland again. Todd Golden. And I'm thinking about how a lot of fans are disappointed in that hire. But they're disappointed because they don't know who he is. They don't know much about him. They're starting to research him. They're finding more about him. This is the direction Florida is going in everything, marketing, everything. Younger. They're going younger, and they're going younger in coaching. There's no question about that. But, as you're looking at this thing, you're still kind of sitting there going, I wanted a splash hire. And that's the thing. Everybody wants a splash hire. Everybody thinks Belichick should be the next football coach at the University of Florida. And that they should hire Jay Wright, for example. Look, I would love it if Jay Wright came down here. I would lose my wife, but I would love it if Jay Wright came down here. But that's not going to happen. So, you got to kind of see how it works out and see what happens with who you hire. And I'm looking forward to meeting this guy Wednesday. I don't know if I'll actually meet him, but I'll at least be at the press conference because I do a little bit of that here and there. So we'll talk about that. The story that broke this week, that Emory Jones is now back in the transfer portal, and it is a mystery, and there are obviously a lot of people involved in this. A lot of people. And I don't even have to know. I can assume that. The way that I'm in the portal. No, I'm out of the portal, and I'm committed to this program. To 2 days later, back in the portal, and he's definitely gone. And they're issuing a statement saying he's gone. I don't know. I don't think it really affects him anyway, negatively, but it is what it is. It's just kind of weird. But it is strange. All right, so here's what we have left. I don't know if you've talked about your NCAA bracket much, but I'm like a lot of people. When Kentucky went out, I went, good. I don't care. I'm good. I'm glad. I know I had him going all the way, but I was trying to reverse jinx him. And by the way, my St. Peter's T-shirt arrives Wednesday. Should I wear it in here next Friday? Yeah, it arrives Wednesday. So I'm ready for it. I want it bad. I ordered it right after the game, by the way. But here's what's left in the NCAA tournament. And I don't know about you guys. I've enjoyed the heck out of it. It's been fun to watch. There have been some great games. There are some stinkers, but this is, and I'll get to this in a minute, but this is what makes it great. Yeah, there's a stinker. You know what's on the other channel? Not a stinker. It's like if you're watching like a really bad episode of what's a sitcom that was up and down? Maybe Big Bang Theory. I might put that one in there. And you're watching a really bad episode of it. You could turn over to Seinfeld. That's the way it works. Yeah. You're watching Grey's Anatomy, but I think I'm going to turn it over because there's a great Simpsons. That's the way the NCAA tournament works. Here's what we have left. We have 3 teams in the ACC, 2 teams in the Big 10, 3 from the Big 12, 2 in the Big East, 2 in the Pac-12, 1 in the AAC, 1 in the SEC, Metro Atlantic, and Western Conference, of course, Gonzaga. But the interesting thing is that's a lot of conferences that are still there, right? That are, in the Sweet 16, and it means so much to them. And look, the bottom line is this is how you're judged as a college basketball coach. It may not be fair. It may not be right, but you are. And the funny thing is, I saw this stat the other day that Roy Barnes now has 4 wins in the SEC tournament. He's the guy that Tennessee fans wanted, but instead he said no. Instead went to Florida. Mike White finished his Florida career with 6. So you could say it's just battling mediocrity. And that is a good point. I did want to talk a little bit about baseball. Obviously, they were slugging the ball out there. I don't know if there was something in the water or the air or whatever it was, but it just was homer. Florida did really well, but unfortunately couldn't hold a lead in the ninth inning and lost. They still seem the pitching is still shaky. You know what you're getting with Hunter Barco. He was magnificent on Friday night. Listened to a lot of that game, actually, and that was kind of fun to listen to with Jeff because they were just, see ya, just one after another. That was great, but to lose that last game, you had a chance to start out 3-0 in the SEC, and that would have been meaningful. That would have sent some, flares up in the SEC, but they did lose, and so they come back, and of course, they have a game on Tuesday against Bethune-Cookman, and then LSU comes in. So that'll be going on this weekend. Softball went on the road as well. Really didn't play well in the middle game and lost 5-0, and then won the other two. So they win another series, and that's what you got to do. They're a half game out of first, and there's another game. They could be tied by the end of the night. So they're doing well as well. But I do have to mention and talk about gymnastics, and I know when Coach Spurrier comes out here, he'll want to talk about this. We watched it Saturday night, and it was so great. I don't know how they do it when they don't do it, when they don't win. When they finish fourth, I don't know how they do it. Just incredible, and just to watch the expertise. Jenny Rowland has put together a really, I don't want to say a super team because who knows, Michigan may beat them. They may, Alabama, who gave them a little bit of a run there in this meet. But they're really good. They are good, and they are so much fun to watch. And it's almost like it used to be, and I'm sure it will be again for me, because I've covered a lot of gymnastics meets, including national championships, when they're doing the beam. And I don't want to look. I just don't want to look. I can't look. And I'm not even a dad. I don't want to look. I want them to all do it well. But so they SEC champs, regular season, and the championships, I guess they call it. They don't count our tournament. It's not a tournament. It's the SEC championships, I guess, postseason championships. So off to a great start. Everybody came out healthy. That's good to see as well. And so overall, it was a pretty good weekend. It was a sad weekend in that the men's team season was over, but a lot of you are going, it's okay. I'm good with that. I'm okay with them. I don't really want to watch it anymore. And I'm glad they got the one win to get to 20 wins, and they can always say that they did, And they had some nice wins. All those guys had some nice wins. Not enough. And then, of course, for the women's team to end their season the way they did, losing to UCF. UCF ending 2 seasons. They ended Florida's football season and their women's basketball season. And I'm sure they're going to have a parade about that. But, UCF was way better than Florida with what Florida could put on the floor. And, again, we're talking about Kiki Smith not being able to play, which we knew was happening, and then Jordan Merritt, again, not being able to play. It hurt him. But, UCF's really good. UCF's a 7, and Florida's a 10 for a reason. Part of it was that Kiki was out. So, at any rate, their season ended. And they weren't going to win the next game. They weren't going to beat UConn at UConn. That wasn't going to happen. So, it's just, they get to come back and start working on next year. That's the way I look at it. Maybe I'm over, what do you call it? Not dramatizing. Maybe I'm over, whatever. I'm doing something over. I know that. All right, what I'm going to do is bring in the HBC after we take this break. Steve Spurrier, as he always does on Mondays, is going to join us. We're going to talk to him a little bit about culture and how you change it in a program. You're watching and listening to Another Dooley Noted Podcast, brought to you by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Hello Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Another Duly Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
And welcome back to Another Duly Noted Podcast. Of course, as always, presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. It's always great to bring on Coach Spurrier, who is sponsored by Meldon Law, and we appreciate them for doing that. And, Coach, I know you were fired up watching basketball all weekend like I was.
Yeah, a little bit. The Gator season is officially over for the men and the women. And, I started thinking, how would I grade each season? I think the men had about a C to C plus year.
Right.
It wasn't terrible. They won 20 games. The ladies, very close to an A, B plus to A, because they did so much better than expected. So hopefully Kelly Ray's going to get our ladies headed in the right direction. And now we got Todd Golden. All of us Gators, we got to get behind him. He's our coach. I think he's got a pretty good resume. He hasn't coached a lot, as we know, but I like the idea that we hired an up-and-coming coach, a guy that we can build with, and a guy that's anxious to make a name for himself and go from there. So let's all get behind all of our new coaches and see what we can do in the future.
Well, I was thinking about this. I think the last time, and I may be wrong about this, that Florida had 2 new coaches in those 2 sports, were you and DeVoe.
90?
Because he was the interim coach that year, right? I think that's the last time that happened.
That's probably true. And
you probably didn't have a lot of interaction with Don DeVoe.
No, not too much, although I remember going to a basketball game when Shaq was playing for LSU.
That's right, yeah.
So that was January, I think, of 90.
Right.
Shaq O'Neal was in the O-Dome, as we called it back then. So anyway.
And Florida beat them. They beat them.
I think we did beat them that night. Yeah, that was a good win that night, obviously. But anyway, the basketball situation, we got new coaches, and they're fired up, and let's all get behind them, see what we can do.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about culture change. And we always hear this term, culture change, that people have to come in and change the culture. What was it like for you to come in, and whether it was Duke or Tampa Bay or wherever, and how important is it to instill that culture in your players?
Well, when I came in 90, the players were already here that were very, very talented and were ready to play. And you got to remember now, at Duke, we just got through going 6-1 in the conference and winning the ACC football championship. So when Eric Redd and Huey Richardson and all those guys, we started showing them a bunch of Duke tape, and they saw a bunch of dudes out there that weren't going to the NFL now, and they were winning because they were playing hard and smart and with confidence. And they started watching that, and they said, there's no reason why we can't win an SEC the first year. And that was our goal. Jerry Odom said, our goal is to win the first ever SEC here at Florida. And so they went and did it. So the confidence factor, and to me, a coach has got to tell his guys, you're good enough to do it. Doesn't mean you're going to, but you're good enough to do it. Now let's all pitch in and do the effort and attitude and all that kind of stuff and see if we can't be the team to win the championship. So that's basically how it happened. And when you win the first one, it's easier to win the second, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and so forth. And then later on, we started losing one game. The teams were almost exactly as good.
Right.
97 team finished fourth in the nation. 98 team finished fifth. And the 2001 team finished third in the nation and did not win the SEC. So everybody said, oh, man, you had a bad year. You didn't win the SEC. I said, they finished top 5 in the nation. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was really good. But, is it I mean, it really is just about doing things the right way on the practice field and everything. And then also when you're changing the culture, you want to make – you're going to set a standard for the players, what you can and cannot do.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's funny. I was watching, they had a special on Sue Bird last night. Did you see that?
Yeah.
And she said Gino Ariemo called her in one day, and he said, when the other players make a bad pass or do something stupid, it's your fault. It's my fault? Why it's my fault? Because you're going to be the leader on the floor. They got to answer to you more than they answer to me. So I looked back on our teams, and, from Shane Matthews to Batesy and Huey Richardson, Jerry Odom, all those guys, Will White, we had so many leaders that everybody knew to do the right thing and follow and so forth. And that's huge for the success of any team is the guys on the field, on the court. They got to be leaders, and all the other guys admire and respect them and really try their best because of that.
Yeah, and you see that watching this tournament, watching this basketball tournament, where guys, you can tell the guys that are kind of the alpha dogs, and I think the guys that have those are the ones that have done the best.
Yeah, I tell you what, there's so much, I don't know if you want to call it luck or breaks or whatever in basketball. Now in football, I think the best team wins 75, 80% of the time. I think in basketball it might be 55, 60%. Did you watch the Duke-Michigan State yesterday? Yeah. Michigan State was right there. They had a lead, and then they had a couple of calls that Izzo was actually laughing over there. He couldn't believe it. And I tell you what, I saw 3 fouls against Michigan State, and no time went off the clock. Have you ever seen that?
No.
They were trying to throw the ball in, called a foul on that guy, tried to throw it in, and he called another foul on another guy, holding or shoving or something. But anyway, it was a great win for Duke, obviously. But that game could have gone either way.
Are you still a Duke basketball fan?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I pull for Duke in every sport, unless they're playing Florida, of course, or South Carolina. If it's Duke, South Carolina, I'll be neutral on that one.
Yeah, I don't think they play a lot, though.
No. But it was fun watching the South Carolina the ladies play Miami's team. If Miami could shoot a lick and score a little bit, they would have had a chance to beat South Carolina.
It was a weird score, like 48-34 or something.
That was
like that.
low scoring. It was low scoring. A lot of defense, so they were hustling their tails off both teams, and the Miami men's team, got to give those guys credit. Yeah. They turned into a basketball school down there. Did you know that?
They're not a football school.
But both of their teams and their men's team, of course, is in the final 16. So give those guys credit for playing some hoops.
Yeah, it's Karen's the one. I asked Karen on her birthday day. Her birthday was Saturday, by the way. But happy birthday, Karen. I said, Karen, who are we rooting for here, Miami and Auburn? Mm-hmm. She goes, I don't want Bruce Pearl getting too far ahead. So we're rooting for Miami. So we rooted for Miami. So it worked out. I'm glad I was rooting for Miami because they played awfully good. When you walk into a job, though, Steve, I mean, you've walked into jobs, fresh. I mean, what are the things you have to kind of, get established, in terms of that being in the office for the first time, whether it was Florida or South Carolina?
Oh, I think first thing every head coach has to do is get his staff. Here's how we're going to do it, fellas. Here's how we're going to coach. We're going to be fair to all the players. We're not going to scream and criticize the first week in practice. Maybe the second week when they keep making the same mistakes, and then you yell at them a little bit. But main thing is try to hold everyone accountable. Everyone has a discipline. We had some early morning runs at 6 a.m. to try to get their attention if some guys missed weightlifting or something like that. So we put in a few new rules and so forth, but not that much. The players have got to want to do it. And they enjoyed how we practiced. We didn't beat the crap out of each other. We hit, but hit in sort of a controlled way, and tried to make practice fun. So the players, they had wonderful attitudes for 12 years as far as I'm concerned.
Did you have to reprimand anybody for hitting?
Oh, occasionally if a guy hit somebody too hard in practice, sort of a halfway cheap shot, I said, don't do that. When a guy's unprotected, usually a receiver, trying to get the ball, we don't hit them. I said, now you can hit the other team when we play them because they're going to hit us. It's whole different. See, I'm a big believer that football is a sport. You cannot practice the way you play the game.
Right.
You remember that old saying, practice like you play?
Yeah.
Well, that's not true in football because you can't beat up yourselves.
Right.
They say when the Army practices to beat the enemies, they don't use live bullets. They can't shoot themselves. So I always believed trying to keep our guys as healthy as possible, yet you do have to hit and tackle. You have to practice tackling, and we certainly did that.
I remember the one time you guys had a bad game against Kentucky, believe it or not, tackling, and you had all the media come out to watch
tackle
practice.
Yep.
And I remember you saying, Pat Dooley and the media boys, let's go. And we all walked out there and like sheep and watched them practice.
Well, there's a right way to tackle and a wrong way.
Right.
And I tell you what, I was reading an article on our new defensive coordinator, Patrick Toney.
Right.
And I really liked everything he said in the interview about fundamentals and how to tackle correctly and how to do your job, how to disguise defenses. And he was an offensive coach to start with.
Right.
And I started thinking defensive coaches should have been an offensive guy to start with, and maybe an offensive guy should have coached defense to start with, because you got to really know both of them. If you want to attack a defense, which we tried to do, then we had to understand what they were trying to accomplish in all their zones and man-to-mans and so forth. So
guys get labeled that way. After a while, after maybe 4 or 5 years being a defensive coach, they can't be an offensive coach because they kind of get labeled.
Well, they like to stick with their expertise and so forth, but since he once was an offensive coach, he knows what gives offenses problem. It was sort of interesting. Back in 90, our last scrimmage against our guys, they clobbered our offense. Shane Matthews couldn't hit anything. Receivers couldn't get open. And when it was over, they were sort of pouting around. And I remember Jack Hairston, the sports writer then, he said the Gators are going to struggle on offense. And anyway, I told our offensive guys, I said, listen, when we play Oklahoma State next Saturday, we're going to know all their coverages because they play a certain coverage against the formation you put out there. If you got trips on one side, they'll play cover 3.
Right.
If you got 3 wide receivers and 2 running backs, they play that quarter half coverage, they call it. I said, we're going to know every coverage. We're going to have on a good play, and we can pass block those guys. They don't have Huey Richardson and Mark Murray and all those guys. And I said, we're going to have a field day against them. And they looked at me and said, really? I said, yeah, we'll have a field day. So they believed me, and we went out and had a field day and scored 50, as you know.
Yeah. Well, I think, they were about to go on probation, too. I know. Pat Jones, I think, was their coach.
Pat Jones was a coach.
Yeah.
They had a decent team. We were 12-point favorites. But after the game, Pat Jones looked at me and he said, Coach, y'all got a heck of a team. I said, I know it, but nobody else knows it right now. So we'll keep it quiet for a little while maybe, but it'll show. Those guys beat Auburn, 48-7, and Georgia 38-7. And back in those days, everybody was worried about both of those teams. We can't beat them back-to-back and all those kind of nonsense excuses that we used to have. But again, what you say, what did I do? We eliminated all excuses. Ain't no excuses. We get beat. We're not good enough. That's all you can say.
But, somebody who did have some excuses was Bruce Pearl. After Auburn goes down, and, of course, the SEC not having a great NCAA tournament with one win or one team still alive.
Yeah.
But Bruce Pearl, when I was hearing that, I was thinking, that sounds like the anti-Spurrier.
Hey, I heard that on the radio that he said the SEC would just beat each other up during our tournaments and our season, and we get to the big NCAA March Madness, and we're all tired and beat up. And, I couldn't believe he said that because they're not the Big Ten. They do the same thing.
Yeah.
The Pac-12, the Big 8, all the conferences do the same thing. They have a season, they have their tournaments, and then they go to the March Madness. So I don't think that was the right thing for him to say.
Plus, they only played one game in the SEC tournament, so they
were
lost
out,
to
yeah.
Texas A&M.
They had plenty of rest.
That's right.
Plenty of rest.
They did, no question about it. When you're going back to that '90 season, you were talking about it. I remember the game when you guys beat Georgia 38-7. I went, oh, things are different here. Like I could tell, you could feel it from that game. That wasn't just like beating Georgia; it was just making Georgia, submit.
Yeah, we left a lot of points out there that day. I was really irritated when the game was over. We fumbled first and goal at the 1 yard line.
Yep, that's right.
Shane come on. I said, "What'd you do?" He said, "Coach, you gave me a bad snap." I said, "Well, we'll work on that next week." Bad snap. Yeah, we fumbled the snap and didn't score 3 other times inside their 20. But we went into that game, Pat. We were first in the conference in offense and defense, I think, and they were like 10th and 9th. And why are we going to be afraid of those guys? So, and we were ready to play. We didn't take it for granted, don't get me wrong, but we were clearly a better team than those guys. And it would have been embarrassing if we didn't beat them 38-7.
Well, we talked earlier about changing the culture and how these new coaches are going to try to change the culture to the way they want it to fit. But I think more than anything, you changed the culture about Georgia. Yeah. You kind of made it different about Georgia when you came in at Florida.
Well, just believing we were just as good as those guys, and all we got to do is go play better than them, and everything will be okay. But it was, that and Auburn, and we played Alabama a bunch early there. We played them 6 times, I think, in the first 7 years, something like that. So you still had to beat Alabama to win the SEC.
Yeah, absolutely.
No question.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I didn't watch any golf this weekend. I got to be honest with you. It was a little bit of golf, but I'm really looking forward to the Masters.
I tell you what, I'm glad I didn't go professional golf. You too, Pat, because we wouldn't have been making any money. I looked at that. The cut at Innisbrook this past week, you had to be -3 first 2 days to get in there. The guys that did not make the cut, and they were 2 under. Brian Gay didn't make it, one of our guys. Gainey, 2 gloves, Gainey didn't make it. Bubba Watson and Keegan Bradley, they were fighting it out for the one in Jacksonville tournament. They didn't make the cut. Now, those guys don't get paid anything, This is not like a team sport where you make whatever you make. And talking about something unbelievable, Deshaun Watson getting $230 million to sign with Cleveland Browns, all guaranteed. Did you hear that?
I did hear that, and there's a lot of people not happy about it.
That's hard to believe. I mean, you can say we're going to pay you $40 a year or $45, whatever. All those quarterbacks make that now. But to guarantee the whole thing is sort of interesting.
Yeah. How much of your salary was guaranteed when you played with the 49ers and the Bucks?
Oh, I don't know how much was guaranteed. I think they could catch you in a year. I signed a 4-year, 25, 27.5, 30, and 32.5. That was my first 4 years.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't know. I think they could have cut me any time. Just if you make the team, that's what you're going to make. So there was not any no-cut stuff back then. Now, that was before we had Player Association.
Yeah.
And then the Player Association came in, and then things really started getting better for the players.
Yeah, and they seemed to like you there as a backup because they knew you could come in and play.
I'm just happy they kept me there a long time as a backup because that's why I lasted 10 years. If you have to play on a bad team a lot, then your chances of sticking around as a backup are not very good.
Let me ask you this, because you coached and played in the NFL and obviously coached and played in college. Where is it easier or harder to change the culture of a team? Is it easier to change it in college where you kind of got control of younger minds versus these professionals?
I don't think there's a whole lot of difference. A lot of people said, well, I didn't make it at the Redskins, and I didn't. The owner, he wanted to be the general manager. He wanted to be the president. He wanted to be the quarterback coach because he picked the quarterbacks the second year. So right. I obviously was not in charge. But when I was in charge, Tampa Bay Bandits, we were 35-19, had a good bunch of guys, played their hearts out. And then the Orlando Apollos. I was in charge of that team. We went 7-1 and were declared champions of the Alliance of American Football. So I don't think there's a huge difference. Although, Urban didn't have very good experience. But I don't know. It is different, but I don't think it's that much difference.
Yeah, did you hear this latest story on Urban that he was apparently he told a coach, he goes, "Who's this 99? I hear we're gonna have trouble with him for the Rams." They were like, "It's Aaron Donald." I mean, some guys do only they get so focused on numbers. Coaches, so focused they'll say, "Well, 7's good, 21's good," but. How were you when you look at a defense?
Oh, I didn't try to learn the names of all the other guys, that's for sure. We more or less looked at their scheme to start with, and if there was one that stood out, then you may try to get an extra blocker, extra help, and so forth. But our quarterbacks, Shane and Danny and Rex and those guys, Doug, Jesse, they got rid of the ball quickly.
Yeah.
And when you watch those NFL guys that get sacked all the time, they go back, then they hesitate, and then they try to run somewhere, and then bang, they get hit. If they go back, put their foot in the ground, and throw the ball, they can usually get it off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, Coach, you got anything else for us today?
I just wanted to talk about the golf. Yeah, it was these young guys are good.
Yeah.
Can they hit the ball straight, long, putt, get up and down? It's amazing watching them play. And so,
that's the thing. We even when in our primes, I remember people used to ask you all the time. They would go, "Hey, Coach, are you thinking about joining the senior tour when you get to be 50?" And you would go, "You guys have no idea the difference."
I tell you something interesting. I got the golf magazine for this month, and they interviewed all the guys that played with Tiger Woods the last round of the Masters that he won.
They won.
So our guy DeMarco's in there, Chris DeMarco. So DeMarco's telling the story. It's pretty good. He said he was at some tournament, and they had won the national championship. The Gators in, I want to say, was it 88, 90? DeMarco, and they beat Tiger's Stanford team.
Yeah.
DeMarco and Tiger, I guess they're close in age.
Yeah, they are. They are, yeah.
So anyway, DeMarco rode on his golf ball, Gators national champs, and he chipped it over to Tiger in front of his foot on the putting green one day. And he'd written that on there, and Tiger got the ball, and he said, "F the Gators." That's the DeMarco story now. Not mine. So anyway.
That's funny.
Yeah.
All right, Coach, we'll let you go. We love having you in here on Mondays, brought to you by Meldon Law. We appreciate it. We'll be back. One thing we'll do is, yes, nowhere, or maybe, Robbie Andrews is going to join us just for a few minutes to do that. And we'll be back here on Another Dooley Noted Podcast, presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Another Dooley Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What would give you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
We are here at the University of Florida, where Albert and Alberta are competing in the Gator penalty shootout. Albert is ready to stop the shot at all costs. What a disaster! Luckily, Meldon Law is the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. If you have suffered any injury, do not worry, because Meldon Law is going to help you with your recovery. Meldon Law doesn't back down until they reach their goal.
Another Duly Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Okay, and welcome back. There are a lot of people that would be pretty happy to have that guest every Monday. All right, we got a lot of things we got to get to, as we always do every Monday and Friday here on Another Duly Noted Podcast. I think we'll start out with the Leonardos at Millhopper Quick Picks. The Leonardos at Millhopper at Quick Picks, of course, brought to you by Leonardos at Millhopper. I was talking to Kyle today. Kyle's got a little knee problem. I'm hoping he's going to be all right for the Dooley, and I know he hopes he will be too, but he does such a great job over there. You guys didn't do great on the Quick Pick because it was Florida, men and women. How would they do in the postseason? And from that point on, this weekend, remember? I think that's what it was. Yeah. So anyway, it went 0-2. It wasn't a good day. It was kind of a weird, like sad ending, but it's just as well. You know, the women weren't going to beat Connecticut. They without Kiki, with what's going on with them, it's just as well. The men, I was tired of watching them play. It's okay. I mean, nobody was rooting against them. But, I mean, those were not losses that you took, stab, wound to the heart. So, anyway, Florida, for the Leonardo's at Mill Hopper Quick Picks this week, here's what we're going to do. I know a lot of you say, man, I don't download it till Tuesday or Wednesday, and I can't get in the Quick Picks. Well, you should be able to get in because it's Thursday, this game. And this is why I'm putting it up here. It could be Coach K's last game ever coach at Duke or anywhere. Texas Tech is giving a 1.5 to Duke. That says a lot about Texas Tech, man. And they find a way to win games. Don't forget, they're the team that knocked Florida out, the Chiozas last year. They're the team that got to the Final Four in the championship game, right? The year that Virginia won it, I think was Virginia, Texas Tech, I think. They've got a good program, and, of course, it's coach change, and nothing changed there. They're still in it. And we'll get to we talked about the different conferences. We'll get to the spreads from Hester and Kipke in just a little bit. But the Leonardo's and Millhopper Quick Picks is very simple. All you got to do is tell me who's going to win between Texas Tech and Duke. And you got to give a 1.5 to Duke. And it's going to be an interesting game. I think all the Sweet 16 games are going to be interesting. And it'll be fun to watch. I will say this. I had so much time, so much fun watching the games this weekend. But the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is the ideal time to watch the tournament. And after that, you're just watching basketball. It's not the same. All right, do we have Robbie on? Okay, it is time to go to our Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zoom line and get Robbie Andrew to join us for yes, no way, or maybe. Robbie, are you there?
Pat?
Robbie, can you
It's
hear
a little bit
me?
different.
Maybe
Loud
I
and
can't
clear,
hear.
my friend.
Maybe I can hear me, but not you.
Can't hear me?
Can you hear me, but
I
not
can
me?
hear you, Pat.
Or-
Yeah. I can
Who's
hear
on
you.
first? Robbie?
Abbott Costello. Yeah.
I can hear Robbie
Matt?
vaguely, but faintly.
How about now?
Still faintly.
My connection with you is strong.
Yeah, his connection with me is strong. Maybe you need to turn yours up, Robbie. So,
What?
anyway, I can hear you enough to be able to ask these questions and answer them.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'll talk real loud. How's that? Pat?
Ralph's loud?
What if I talk real loud?
What?
Hit me
All right,
with your best shot.
The Big Mills Cheesesteaks, yes, no way, or maybe. Robbie Andrew is our willing participant today. Here's the questions. Robbie, number one, Anthony Richardson starts the opener against Utah.
Yes. To me, there's no doubt. Now that Emery's decided to leave, he's the guy now for sure, and I think Emery saw that, and I think that's why he's a quick about face and went back into the portal, because it's pretty obvious that they like Richardson. He's the guy, and if he stays healthy, I think big things maybe.
Yeah, it's weird how that whole thing went down with Emery.
Yeah,
one day he's
I told people. Yeah, and I told somebody today. I think maybe in those 2 days of practice that followed, Emery saw something that told him, no, this isn't going to work out, and he decided to jump back in the portal. And the thing that isn't going to work out is that Richardson's the guy.
It could be that they were the plays that they were running or the throws that they were asking him to make were throws that he didn't feel good about. I don't know. I mean, it could be. There could be. Look,
Yeah.
I would bet that there are third cousins at work here too.
Yeah, it sounds like it, Pat. He even talked about how he talked with family and friends about his decision. So, yeah, it wasn't. I don't think it was just him alone. And maybe it was something that happened at practice, what they were doing or whatever, but that he didn't feel comfortable with. But he hopped back in, which I think
all right, number
worked out
two.
better for both.
Number 2 on Yes, No, Where, Maybe with Robbie Andrew. There'll be 10,000 fewer fans at the spring game because they're playing it on Thursday than they would have been on Saturday.
I think no way on that one, Pat.
Whoa.
Because I think Napier has energized the crowd, and I think he's going to energize the students. I think he's going to put an emphasis on the students filling up the swamp. I think you're going to see a bigger turnout on a Thursday night than you would have on a Saturday. And I know some alumni from out of town are irritated and ticked off about it, but I think people are going to show up because with a new coach there is excitement, and I think he's going to turn to the student body and get a lot of support from that side that he wouldn't have gotten, normally on a Saturday afternoon game.
Well, some alumni in town aren't happy about it.
Yeah, I know. One in my house is not happy.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what happens there. I thought it was kind of a weird move, but he's got a plan until he goes.
Yeah.
8, I'm going to go, hey, good plan, whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
Finally, Robbie.
Him, Pat, it's all about.
Go ahead.
Pat. I was going to say with him, it's all about recruiting. And to him, this is a recruiting opportunity. So that's why he's doing it.
Yeah, that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
All right. Finally, Robbie, on Yes, No, Where, Maybe. Coach K's last game is Thursday night against Texas Tech.
I'm going to say maybe because Texas Tech is really good, and they're going to be problems for Duke. But I'll say a maybe on that. I can't see it ending there, but maybe, just kind of a maybe on that one because, when you look at what Duke did the last game of the regular season against North Carolina on his big send-off, that was a pathetic performance. So
yeah.
Depends on what Duke team you get, later this week. But, I would say a definite maybe on that.
All right. Have you enjoyed the tournament so far?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, Pat. And,
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me that Florida wasn't in it. I've really enjoyed it. I couldn't believe how well Miami played the other night or last night.
Yeah. Now, that's the thing. Karen and I had a discussion. Karen convinced me that rooting for Miami was the right thing to do there. What were you doing?
Now, I was not. I was pulling for Auburn.
Wow. I can't prove for
SEC,
I got
baby.
Bruce Pearl, man.
I know.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't do it with that. He's got that.
Pearl loves.
Yeah, he does love the new
Pat?
coach, Golden. Yeah.
He does. He loves Todd Golden, so we'll see how that works out. But I guess
Well,
his
maybe he'll throw a
press
game.
conference will be soon. Maybe
I
he
know.
will.
All right, my man. Thanks, Robbie.
Okay, Pat. That's the
All right, Robbie Andrew joining us for Yes, No, Where, Maybe. Brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteaks. So we have a lot of things still to get to, including 3 things presented by Hand Law. Obviously, we're going to try to do it that way with that Big Mills Cheesesteaks. Yes, No, Where, Maybe. Try to do it. Try to get somebody, but it used to be Robbie or Jeff or people in town. Stuff people like that. That's my plan. All right. 3 things, of course, are presented by Hand Law, a Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website at www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. I got the nicest compliment I think I ever got yesterday. I gave there was a bunch of people giving little eulogies for my wife's dad who passed away, and I gave one, and my daughter told me, she goes, she's the most proud of me when I'm speaking. And now, here I am speaking, and nobody's proud of me. All right, number 1 on 3 things presented by Hand Law. The Braves and Me is what I'm going to call my book. I am, all right, so I told people if they get rid of Freddie Freeman, I'm done. I'm out. I'm finished, through. And then I started reading more about it, and I'm okay. I think they did the right thing. I hate to say it. It may backfire. It may not work. Just like hiring a 36-year-old coach who, was at San Francisco may work. Who knows? Who knows whether something will work or not, but the more I'm okay with the Braves. In fact, I was looking at the spring training scores going, hey, we won. So it's still a we. All right, number 2 on 3 things presented by Hand Law. The NCAA tournament has showed us one thing. It is how stupid the commissioners of college football are. And I even include Greg Sankey. Well, I can't include Greg Sankey because he didn't vote for it. For you see this excitement, people screaming and yelling. My wife gave me the greatest quote the other day. She said she was watching the game and Texas Tech fans were just losing their mind. And she was like, I want to be happy again. I mean, yes, that's why Florida fans have been so down. They want to be happy again. But that's the thing. There are so many people that are so happy during a tournament. Not just 3 teams or 2 teams. There's only 2 teams that are happy after a football season. 2 teams that win their playoff games and the team that wins the national championship. That's 2 teams. It's not 3. That's the only people that are happy. Make some people happy. Stupid. And finally, number 3, we saw another hire in the SEC. Chris Jans went to Mississippi State. He was a coach in New Mexico, and as soon as they got beat, it's like as soon as you get beat, you get hired. We're hiring you. That's the way it seems to be in the SEC, but I don't know much about him. Can't really tell you much about him. But anyway, I just wanted to tell you that. So that is 3 things presented by Hand Law. The Adam Ribko to go, Gator the weekend. Look, I had a lot of choices, no doubt about it, but I have got to go with Trinity Thomas. I watched the gymnastics. It was so much fun to watch. It was like she wasn't even putting the effort in. And she was the best. She was the best gymnast in the best conference. She was unbelievable. And I know that I give her the award a lot when she does great things, but this was winning the all-around award for that conference is amazing. She was so much fun to watch. And she didn't screw up or didn't get affected by the Pat Dooley jinx, which is I interviewed her on Wednesday, I think it was. Mary Howard set up an interview with her on the phone for a story I was doing for Gators Wire, and she still was fine. She did great. She won a championship, so that's how good she is. She can overcome the Pat Dooley jinx. And she is our Adams Ribko to go Gator of the weekend, and a weekend where a lot of good things happened. Some not so good, but mostly it was good things that happened. Finally, we have got to get to and we love getting to these, and it's fun because we can actually have spreads now. The Hesser and Kipke Monday spreads, they are brought to you by Hesser and Kipke, a law firm based in Hale Plantation specializing in employment, workers' comp, and family law. Visit their website at www.hklawfl.com or call Ken and Jennifer at 352-339-9920. Here we have it. Here are the 8 games for the Thursday and Friday in the NCAA tournament. Gonzaga, 8.5. I'm going to give you the game times, okay? 8.5 over Arkansas. That's a big spread over Arkansas. Arkansas, the last SEC team of there. That'll be the first game on Thursday at 7:09. Michigan is the 7:29 game. They are 4.5-point underdogs to Villanova. Texas Tech, 1.5. I mentioned it earlier over Duke. That's the 9:39 game on Thursday. And then Houston is getting 2.5 points against Arizona. That'll be the 9:59 game. St. Peter's, my T-shirt will be here. 12.5 points they're getting against Purdue. That'll be the first game on Friday night. Providence, Kansas. Providence is getting 7.5 points. That's a 7:29 game. North Carolina is getting 2.5 points against UCLA. That's a 9:39 game. And Iowa State, the last game of the night, is playing Miami. Iowa State is getting 2.5 points. What a story that is. That is a story that Gator fans need to think about. Last year, you know what Iowa State's record was? Yes. Evan, just guess. What do you think their record was? They played 24 games. Give me a guess of what you think their record was last year. No, they were 2-22. They're in the Sweet 16 this year. That's an amazing job. So it's not impossible. Look, there is a chance that as bad as this year was in those 2 major sports, next year might be worse. Might be better, might be as good. hopefully we'll see progress in both of them. We'll see how it all works out. Okay, that's going to do it for today's show. Appreciate the head ball coach for coming in, as he always does on Mondays. On Friday, Peter Burns is going to join us, and I'm sure he'll have a lot of great things to talk about. We'll talk to him about the SEC going forward. So that's going to do it. Evan, thanks so much. And, again, thanks to Coach Spurrier for Robbie Andrew, who was also on the show today. This has been another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. I am deep, I am way back, and I am out of here.